basis in reality.
Professor István, já que o senhor tocou na questão da União Soviética, a imprensa brasileira sempre diz aos brasileiros em geral, aos seus leitores de uma forma geral, que o socialismo ou o comunismo acabaram com a queda do Muro de Berlim e sempre tomam conta, como exemplo, a União Soviética, como o senhor explicou agora há pouco. É fato mesmo que o comunismo acabou, como insistem alguns setores, até da intelectualidade brasileira e mundial?
Well, it depends what you mean by communism. Because in the first place, by Marx, communism was defined as the higher stage of socialism, where again it was emphasized that historically you can't jump to that stage. You can't. You have to resolve some enormous fundamental problems of society. Again, this question of transition, how do you get from one type of society, one type of social metabolic reproduction to the other. So they have to be resolved. They have their own conditions, both objective conditions and subjective conditions, because it's not enough to produce material goods. You also have to transform the people. And in that sense, Marx was talking about that under communist type of higher level of society, and the people to go with it who have been educated in this spirit, they are supposed to produce according to their abilities and receive from the social pool according to their need. Now, if you consider both sides of this equation, you can only you can only produce according to your abilities if you have a substantial agreement with the purposes, with the aims of that society. If you are in disagreement, especially if you are in violent disagreement, then you refuse to produce according to their abilities. What do you do instead? You do the absolute minimum, and maybe not even that, because you can also interfere with the production and push it back. And what about the rewarding people according to their need? Well, that's again, who is going to decide what are the needs of the people? In the Stalinist kind of system, it was that bureaucratic operation which decided for you and me and everybody else what are your legitimate needs. So if you think of that type of society as communism, well, that is obviously dead. You're right, that is dead. But for me, that was not a communist society in any sense of the word. For you might even say it was stillborn. It was born dead, if you like, already, because of those historical and other constraints. And to refer it to the collapse of the Soviet system, which is also a historical reality, it's a fact. Obviously, some people draw from it the conclusion that, all right, there is no more problem. Socialism, communism is dead, and capitalism triumphs, and forever and ever we live under this system. Well, unfortunately, with this kind of looking at the problems, is that we are not going to live very long if we follow the imperatives of the system which controls our society, our social metabolism. And that's why I would say, no, socialism is not at all dead. It is there as a challenge for the future. But we must learn from the terrible contradictions of the past, because without that we could only repeat it. The reason why I spent 25 years of my life writing this book is primarily with regard to the future, because I'm convinced that the problems will arise again for the future. And if we don't learn from the past, that future is very dark, because the dangers of humanity's self-destruction through capital, through the power of the capital, the logic of capital, the objective imperatives of capital, is such, the irrationality which characterizes the system is such that if we are not careful, if we don't devise an alternative way of controlling all aspects of our life, within very easily foreseeable period of time, we'll be all dead.
Professor Veloso, sua pergunta, professor.